Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the Antagonist Cyborg from RAMEN Toy. This is their take on an adjacent take on a CENTURIONS hacker. Now, I do think that they are doing so many things better with this figure than they did with the other ones. We're going to go into that. But the originals aren't bad, but they fixed some stuff on this, so we're going to talk about it. And they learned from their Silverhawks, Quicksilver, and when it comes to the magnets. So we're going to talk about all of that. But I will have a link down below where you can get these yourself. You can order this Antagonist Cyborg, and you can order any of the other figures that are coming from RAMEN Toys. So let's get into talking about this, comparing it to the vintage, other things on the market right now, and how does it stack up? What is the quality? What is the articulation? Coming up. Alright, so let's take a look at the packaging, and we do have both the different versions right here. So we have the darker one, and we have the lighter one, and there are some differences with the figures inside. You can see like silver weapons versus kind of gray plastic to match the KENNER style, and just darker tones to them. But once you open the outer shell, you do have this. So this is an homage to the original Centurions from back in the day. So this is kind of a backer that goes inside this package, and it's a blister to the backer. And so with that, cutting this off, it's going to kill my soul. I'm going to feel like I did something wrong. I'm destroying my childhood, because this is my childhood. Wow, I can't believe I'm going to cut this off. They did such a phenomenal, fantastic job with this packaging. I'm so impressed, and yes, I'm gonna have to buy all of the original ones again, the Aegis Commanders, on this style card back. But let me carefully remove this guy. But before we do that, quick comparison of the new to the vintage. This is one of the few vintage boxes I actually still have, and looking at this, it does pay homage very well to the vintage. Getting this in full frame, so it is a little bit thinner on the top, well, the bottom, so it's a thinner kind of a look to it than the original, because obviously the original is much bigger, but it's almost the same height. So looking at about the same height, maybe a little taller actually than the original, and it does have kind of this sunroof thing, which this one does not. And then side to side, kind of seeing what they look like. The back pays an homage to the original so well. Alright, so here he is out of his plastic prison. That was so painful for me to do that, to cut this dude out. I really wished it was engineered a way that you could pull it out and then put it back in, but that may be something they change in the future, who knows. But looking at this guy, he does look fantastic. Now, I did order two. So I ordered two of the KENNER style, or the retro style, or whatever they call this lighter blue color, and then one of the darker blue color, because I didn't really care for that one, but I figured I might as well have one because it's kind of cool anyway. But with this, three of them shipped from RAMEN Toy cost me about $275 with the early bird pricing, and then the shipping was like $50. So and there it was, and here they are. So they're less than $100 a piece, but already handling this for just a few minutes, it feels very, very premium. So let's look at the figure, then build him up with all this stuff. His head it's on a double peg joint, a double barbell, so you can get it to do up and down and all that kind of stuff. So side to side and up and down, and again, I am battle damaged, so I will have this band-aid on it. So you could easily swap that off there if there's a reason to do that. He does connect his side to side with magnets, and it literally, I'm letting go of it right here and letting it do its thing. So there's a lot of paint apps in there. You see a fan, whatever that thing is, and more stuff just going on painted. These were stickers back in the day This is actual painted detail, which is fantastic. Okay, shoulder out to here, a 360 on it. That is probably a screw cover or something like that on this guy. And then you have more than the 90 on a double jointed elbow, which looks fantastic. And I do like the colors and the skin tone and paint apps and all this kind of stuff. This thing here turns but doesn't do anything. We're going to get to the arm over here when we add the attachments here in a bit. Leg goes out to about here, back to about there. And I'm starting to be curious about how this is going to connect with other things they make. So, like, we have Doc Terror, and then we have the land drone, all that kind of stuff. Well, Antagonist Scientist is coming. So, you can't just do articulation 90 here, and then the foot does this. You can't just do one side. You got to do both. So, it comes out and around, like so. You have actual pistons. It looks like the working pistons. Is it working pistons? I thought it was. And then you have this foot moving around and doing all this kind of stuff. But it's so articulated. There's so much going on. This is articulated in the foot, this piece, and then the back piece. So you got quadra articulation in the foot over there, which is really awesome. And I'm pretty cool if they do some reuse with that for, if they can reuse this part in a way for the Antagonist Scientist. But from the back, that's how he looks. Got the hose and some black going on right there and some different stuff. I thought these were working pistons, but maybe they're not. It's just aesthetic, but it still does look cool. Yeah, really, really cool. And let's get into putting some accessories on this guy. First accessory we're going to put on is this piece here, which probably could go on the front or the back, depending on how you wanted to do it. And then the next one we have is this mace, and it's so I'm not sure which. I think it's cast in this color and then painted black right here, or it's two parts connected. I'm not sure. We're going to connect it here to the back of this. Now, I do want to point out that in the alternate version, these are all silver. So, I mean, I showed it in the packaging, but these are painted with a shiny silver to it and all of that kind of stuff. So a little bit different. I'm not opening both because I wanted to keep these guys sealed. And then this one is going to be my opened one. So anyway, moving into this, looking at the helmet. Now the helmet has some soft padding in the back right there, and then you can put the visor in, which I do like. But before we put the visor in, let's see what it looks like on his head without the visor. And that sort of matches the original G1, as you want to call it, G1, the original Centurions. And so then we're going to put this in. There's a peg on the visor piece, and then there is a slot right in there. So you're going to slide this in and line it up and just peg it in. It was a little trickier. I'd do it off camera. I mean, it took 20 seconds off camera, and there you go. I like that a lot. That really does look good, that visor on there, but you don't have to do it. And there's no paint rub on my, if you see paint rub on my fingers, it's from one of my 17 other projects I'm working on for vintage toys. But anyhow, so now here we go. This turns like so, and it's very tight. You do have an elbow here. I popped that off trying to move that. That's a tight joint, really tight, but I think tight's good. I mean, if it's tighter, a little tighter than too loose is better in my opinion. Nothing feels like it's gonna break. I pushed it to its limit and it's just fine. So let's see what this guy can do with comparisons. It does actually come with two other versions of fists, like an open fist and a fist, like an open grasp and a fist and all that kind of stuff. I won't be putting on them because I want to keep something sealed on this card. So here he is next to the vintage version that I've got. And so let's make it fair. Let's first push this peg all the way in, flip this around so that it sort of matches what we got going on with the vintage. And seeing that right there, what looks better? Well, obviously we've known the vintage forever. We've seen the vintage forever. But looking at these side by side, this one isn't that much shorter. So I do want to prove a point here with this, and I'm about to do that right now, but they're making this guy bigger, and I think that's a really good point. So getting into looking at these, this size comparison is done for one reason, specifically to show you that this is the original size, and I will go on record saying I felt they were a little too small for a 1/12 scale or 6-inch scale. These guys are bigger and closer to the original size, and if you see the size difference between this guy to this guy, they're making some improvements, but in the show, I do feel like Hacker should have been bigger than these. So there's a couple of reasons, a couple of avenues, a couple of things to look at, but the fact they went bigger makes it better, and the fact they went bigger makes me happier about the land drone. Next in the comparisons, I'm just going to do a side-by-side with the Antagonist Cyborg versus the 80s Commander that I call Ace, and this one here, which is the original vintage Doc Terror. So let's say you don't want to track down a vintage Hacker and you don't want to hack through those prices, and then you buy this guy instead, and I think it would fit fine in your vintage collection if that's what you wanted to do. It's a little shorter than the Doc Terror, but I think it's fine. But next to the 80s Commanders, these guys are going up against a beefier, bigger dude, and that works out for me also. So I'm going to run through the gamut of comparisons here, and looking at these, I want to say that this is Ramen Toys and their Silverhawks with Monstar and good old Quicksilver side by side. You can see the size comparison, and I really feel like Quicksilver and this one fit really well with the 1/12 scale, and this guy's big. I think Super 7s will be bigger. And here he is compared to some G.I. Joe. So this is the classified from Hasbro Super 7, and what's coming from Super 7 size scale wise, you can see the difference, and Super 7's going for a bigger scale, and they're going for a bigger scale with their Silverhawks, so that's just the way it is. And with this, will they match up? Will they pair together? Well, they're not doing Centurions or 80s Commanders. And real quick, more Super 7, the Lion-O figure, pinless, color changing Super 7 version that's pretty cool of Lion-O. And of course, the Ultimates Filmation 2.0 Skeletor. Here he is next to a pair of vintage traumatizers. Bring on the land drone in droves. That's all I gotta say. So, what do I think about this Antagonist Cyborg from Ramen Toy? Well, first of all, I like that they corrected the size and he's bigger. It's a much bigger figure, and it works actually scale-wise from the cartoon. He should be bigger than 80s Commanders, Centurions, that kind of stuff. But I think he's done very well. The sculpt looks good. Everything about it looks good. There's enough paint on it. It is sort of a matte finish. I do like the visor that they put in here. I do like that he has his accessories. I do like that he has, I don't know what, 38 points of articulation. I didn't count them, but there's quite a bit. It's not hyper articulated that some articulation junkies would love, but it's more than I'll ever use. I do like that they fixed the magnet section in there so that the magnets can't pull out. They're internal magnets. They cannot pull out. So there's so much that they've improved on this figure from the originals, and I look forward to all the other figures they have coming out. And there's two different versions, as you can see. I have them both right back here. Yes, I did pay full price for them, but my biggest complaint is that I have to cut it off the card. There's no way to pull this thing out and then put it back in. You can't put the genie back in the bottle or the box on this one. That's my biggest complaint. And aside from that, I think it's a great figure. I'm really excited about what's coming in the future. What do you think? In the comments below, like and subscribe, and I'll have a link where you can order this. Daredevil Hanger out.
Launch the second wave of traumatizers. Right, Doc. Send in the Doom Drone Strafers. Sure thing, Doc. Doc, the Strafer Squadron's not responding. There must be a bad connection somewhere. Doc, are you all right? No, you fool.
The World Court is the setting of the start of the most famous criminal trial of the century. Doc Terror and his cyborg creation, Hacker, were brought before a hall of justice today to answer for their heinous crimes.